About that.
No, I haven't had it.
He's one of the
Thankfully for the rain.
Is Chris Douglas.
All right, it's 4 o'clock. Let's pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for being here, everyone, for a special meeting for capital projects, and then looking at the second reading. Peter, you're going to stay for the whole thing. If we maybe flip flop these, does that
That's fine.
free you up? Are you
Absolutely.
guys? Is the board okay with that? If we take number 2 first. So it's just a second reading. We changed the things kind of that first time around, right?
Yeah, we just, Commissioner Emery asked me to kind of inquire whether it's also applicable to Ward County. I think it was, but to be absolutely crystal clear, there were some changes that were made to what will be, well, I now see an error, but which will be made to subsection C under section 3, and a clarification, instead of saying county ordinances, say Ward County ordinances under D, the next paragraph. And other than that, it was just all those changes are noted in red. And I believe that it will serve our purposes when we are dealing with, when I deal with red line, it moves things around, and I'm sorry. From what was submitted, under section 3, those paragraphs will be numbered A, B, C, D, E. But other than that, I believe those are the only changes made from that approved by the first reading. And it's just clarification purposes only, putting in Ward County ordinances and or specifying Ward County ordinances. It's already in place. So if anyone has any questions, let me know.
Questions from the commissioners? Ron, you're good with it?
Yeah, looks good. Language is clear.
Entertain a motion if anyone feels.
I make a motion to approve a second reading ordinance number 235.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Any more discussion? Call the roll.
Updike,
Yeah.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Emery,
Yes.
Kitzman,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank you.
It's published in the paper. The day it's published, 2 days after it's published, it takes again.
Okay. Keep him on our good side then.
Yeah.
And hang on. Move on. All right, so now we're going to number 1, the capital projects for the upcoming year. Gonna take us through some stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
and always has been too.
Maybe not.
8. Too many TVs.
Well, just wait, we're passing it down when I can't get it, so.
Where you at, Butter? It's right there.
I know.
Close all windows and just try and open it.
Right.
Is it plugged in? That's the question is.
Right.
They're working on technology.
No.
Words out there sometimes, Jake, so.
All right. So as we talked at the last board meeting, we had a list of projects that we went through and got these somewhat in order, what I think we should move ahead with. The first one is the Children's Museum project. That one, by kind of designated as number 1 right now because of the large grant that was received and the funding is all there for the project. So we have committed to doing the roadway and parking infrastructure, which is kind of an overview of what you see up on the screen. And we've got an estimate. We had some ranges, so we were from about 2.2 to 2.6 million, if I'm not mistaken. So 2.6 is the high end, 2.2 is the low, and then there's a mid range. And when this project is bid out, I guess we'll know what the actual number is. That one is on our list as a high priority. They want to break ground in the spring, and we need to do this in conjunction with the building project. Number 2 on the list, based on we purchased a piece of land from the State Land Trust in 2013, and we have done a whole lot of planning on that project, including finishing the golf course plan. We have a set of blueprints that are finalized. We have an irrigation plan. We've got a bunch of studies done and a bunch of work for that project done. We're also working on the outdoor recreation area, the park part of the project. We have, I think, we have one more approval to gain, and that would be from the township in this area to do this project, to come off of the county road and put an entrance road into the parcel of land and build a parking lot.
Is that meeting that was scheduled?
Yeah, that
happened
got postponed, so it'll probably be after Christmas time. We received an encroachment permit from the county and a permit from Massachusetts section line for the roadway. We need to work with the township. We got city approval as well. Estimate on this project, the parking and roadway is about $1,020,000. In conjunction with that, we have the beginnings of a trail system here. So coming off of the roadway and parking lot, the hard surface trails that you see here would get done, as well as this first loop into the drainage area. That is the next estimate, or just around 529,000 for that project. So that would be number 2 on the list. Number 3 potentially is the leopard exhibit at the zoo. We've been working with the city and the Service River Joint Board on floodplain management in the zoo and in Roosevelt Park. And when the new flood maps come into play and the floodplain is adjusted, this area that we want to do the construction in will be in the floodway. So it'll be very difficult to do this project after that happens. So we've been working with them and trying to get an idea of when that will actually happen. They appealed the ruling. I'm not sure where they're at on the appeal. I haven't heard anything lately, but they indicated summer or fall of this upcoming year were potential deadlines, and if we're lucky, we gain another year. So it could go out a little bit farther yet. That project estimate was 2.7 million. We have the last estimate I have on paper, we had over 800,000 sitting to go towards this project. It's probably closer to 900,000 right now. So we have about 1.7 million to come up with on this project to get this one going. Then we have some other projects. This one we talked about during our budget process over in Riverside Park. We have this area right here in the darker coloration that we have set up as a basketball/pickleball court. Our users have asked us to give them a dedicated pickleball court. So that is what you see up here. We just turn the court that's there existing into a basketball court again, and then build a pickleball court. That's the high end estimate on that project. We do have a couple of options on this. There's the one that's a little less expensive that has it kind of shaped like an L, where we have part of the pickleball court goes across the top and uses some of the court space on the basketball, and then we leave the standards the way they are. So that's an option as well. But this is about $187,000 to $227,000 for this project. And this is a part that we've been doing some improvements on. We want to try and finish this out.
And the reason to do the nicer version is, you were telling me, right, because there'd be 2 of the 3 courts would have like seams, like,
Yeah, this would take the seams out of the pickleball court completely.
which hopefully will
So you don't
extend it out a little.
And with proper engineering, you probably wouldn't have a problem, but it still makes us nervous having seams on the court. You don't have to. So we would prefer this option if we're going to move ahead. And there's the estimates that go along with that, which you guys should have in front of you. If I start on the screen. Green Valley Park, we put a budgeted for a playground. We have also discussed doing some work on the courts over there. So we have $80,000 in the budget for this upcoming year. And the rest of the project, if we want to move ahead with more of that in this upcoming year, that would be the extra, well, we'd have to come up with another $58,000. And we're not sure, I'm not sure what the other money would go towards. I know we talked about the tennis courts, doing some upgrades to that, and fencing and probably resurfacing.
Yeah, we looked at milling the current surface down, rolling it back up, resurface coating, obviously new nets, posts, new fencing.
And just upgrade
with the addition, upgrade the whole entire court system. So a little bit of heating and cracking.
It's kind of what we
Needs to be
did
done.
at Beach Park a few years ago. We did on that one, if I'm not mistaken, resurfaced it. So that's the Green Valley. Then we've got some other projects that we're looking at. This is the South Hill Softball Complex, about doing some grading work, and we've got some drainage issues over there that we want to take on. So this would be kind of doing some grading work in the infields here, hitting a little bit in the outfields, and then catching this area where when it rains, the water pools up and actually getting that pumped over to a storm drain system over here, with permission from the city, which we have talked to them, and they had no problem with us using that area. So this estimate, about $370,000, and that's on our list. If we can't get it in this round, we'll try it next year or the year after. We want to get these done and try and get those fields upgraded. We've got our other fields upgraded, and we've also got another project on here to kind of finish that whole area off. This will be the next one. This is a new concession restroom press box complex in between the new turf fields that are at the Southdale complex. This one was part of the application process several years ago with the Community Facilities Fund. We have like $385,000 in that fund. The estimate on this one is about 900, just under $1 million. So we have about a third of the money for this project. We've challenged the users on this one to come up with at least another third, and we consider maybe matching them if they're able to do that. So, but we're kind of still in discussions with them.
We haven't really heard back from them, right?
Jared,
where does that
they've had a meeting not too
We've got a
long.
couple different meetings now, and they did request, possibly looking at a different, design, maybe a lesser press box, locker rooms more spread out around the dugouts, but then you're adding 4 buildings instead of 1, so the options came back. To do what we need to do, this is probably the best option. Otherwise, you'll be adding costs, obviously having more walls in the little buildings for locker rooms.
They want to come back to us with their checkbook open yet, so they're still trying to figure out what the scope of the project will be, and then they'll start trying to figure out how to raise some money. So this one isn't going to be on our list this year, I'm positive, unless they come up with some big donation. So, but that is all. And then here's just some estimates of different parts of the project. They looked at. And this, we've had several discussions on the Mesa site. So we kind of got some estimates to look at for the 4th rink, and also for the field house on this project. The tear down of the old fire site is almost complete. They're working over there, but they're doing well. It's pretty much gone. They're cleaning up the big mess now, and then they're going to do some great work, I guess. So that's going well. So that kind of, these are longer range discussions for us. And we talked about which one would we like to do first and how much would they cost. So this is kind of what it could look like over there. You need some kind of connection between the 2 facilities. We've got locker rooms and other amenities to build in here. The estimates came in, this is for the 4th sheet of ice, for the shell and floor, including site work, $6.7 million. Adding locker rooms, $740,000. Linking the buildings together, about $1.3 million. And then if we were to add offices out there, the configuration that they're in right now, about another 1.3. So that gets you to the 10.1 million for that project. And there's phases, obviously, that you can do on this. Field house, our kind of high-end estimate on this is 11.3 million. And this is spaced out as well as shell on the floor, 9.9. Locker rooms and the linkage from building to building are all included in that 11.3. So surprisingly, it's, that field house is a great big open space. There's more finish work in the ice rink than there is in this. So in it, different materials and everything else. So the actual cost isn't too much different on these 2 projects.
So does that include like turf and basketball courts and all that? I mean, it would be a finished project.
Yeah,
project at that
we
point?
think so, unless we make some major upgrades, to what we were talking about, that would be a finished product. We talked about, estimating bleachers and pull-out bleachers in the field house, versus doing it, and they did some of that work for us as well, talking about the If this is longer range planning, if this building, if we end up moving out of it because we build one of these facilities, we still feel like you need the basketball floor in Minot. Would we try and put that in the new facility, and where would you put it? You put it on the Pepsi rink and do the insulation board and the floor on there and have a really nice facility. It would be a tough turnaround on that facility for, for use. You probably won't be using it weekly, but you could plan out a tournament or, 2 or 3 events a year where you could have basketball in that venue.
Basketball's not used here weekly though, is it?
Recreation is, but not for,
But
not
if
for
there-
the tournament
If there
setting.
were,
Was the
if
big,
there were, we would maybe have new options as well at that point.
the other option we looked at is in the field house. If you did, the slide out bleachers, you make a center court in that facility somehow, even if you go turf back and did that. So we just looked at the cost of the 2 options and to see if it made a whole lot of difference. So I know, it's kind of depends on how you look at that, and we need to do some work on this building as well, and just take a look at the future uses for it. So, but those prices would give us finished products on both of those facilities. Then we've got the Roosevelt Park Pool liner. They firmed up this estimate. It went down from what we had in our budget because of a different product and company. So that was good, but about $150,000 for that. To upgrade that, the look of the pool, the cleanliness, the shine of the water and everything. If you look at it now when it's empty, it looks kind of tough because it got stained during the flood and you can't do anything with it. You can't get the stain off, so you need to do something else with it. Indoor tennis complex, we've got a couple of projects that we'd like to look at in the future, like we discussed before. Sport turf liner, that would be a liner for the walls and the ceiling of that facility. A really nice upgrade. Include some extra insulation, new lighting, and just there's maybe a few different ways to do this project, but this probably would look the nicest and be the easiest to do. And then resurfacing those courts at some point, we're going to need to look at that. So those are on our list.
And that's a property that we still have to have talks with the city, right?
Correct. We want to discuss having that building transferred to us permanently for leasing it right now. And we're going to make some improvements. We want to own the building, so it doesn't completely preclude that happening, but it would be nice if we were to be able to own that building. So we're not worried about losing our investment in there. We're going to put close to $500,000 in it. It would be nice if we owned it. Restrooms, there's the one out at the Woodland Trail. The estimates for these types of facilities, 55 for a single, 65,000 for a double. And these are just basic bulk restrooms. We talked about having one at the golf course potentially that we could have a flush toilet and a drain field. And when you start doing things like that, the price is going to go up quite a bit. We might have double this number to do something like that for a single facility. So we can discuss that, whether we think that's necessary or not. But at least to give us an idea, this is, do the restroom project, I think would be really nice out there. But then we got to decide if we want to do it. How far do we want to go with it? So, but this one is really nice. So that's our project list for right now. You guys have had time to look at it. If you haven't seen all the numbers, I'm sure I've got opinions on what I'd like to see us do and how to do it. You guys have opinions as well, so you can carry on and start.
Commissioners want to chime in? Do we have thoughts or?
I've got department heads here that can answer, and I've got architects that can answer questions.
Commissioner Hudson?
People are here to help out.
Try to prioritize these a little bit, just to start going down the list, see how far we can go. It seems like that Magic City Discovery Center is the first priority in terms of the building, and we've committed to that. second one in my mind is the Leopard Center with the scheduling we're gonna run into. Third one, and I got a fourth one, some smaller ones, I really feel, I've been talking about this for about, seems like about 27 years, but it's been quite that long, but I think we really need to do the restrooms out at the golf course. And I think we need to do them right, which would probably take more like $100,000 restroom, put water in there. I don't think it's worth doing a slight improvement on what we got. Do it right or don't do it. That'd be a third one. And, I think it ought to be nice. I haven't evaluated our whole thing, but the outdoor rink would be a nice thing to have. We got a nice facility up there in North Hill. If we could complete that, if there's a need for it, that would be a nice deal.
For what was that last one? I'm sorry.
The outdoor rink, to finish that off on North Hill. And then beyond that, lots of possibilities. I think we need to get, it's helpful to get the prices that we have as we go down the road as far as we can get. I also feel it's obviously a good time to borrow money. Interest rate is low. I think we should look at as much as we can afford to probably do, but we're gonna need to know some numbers of what the actual cost would be, and we're having a budget.
What's left at Polaris with the rink?
Polaris is complete. So what we were talking about is working at putting a hard surface in at Perkins and Roosevelt with some, to have a hard surface, so it's easier to put ice in and it's more usable in the off season for, other things, whether it's, basketball hoops on the outside, roller hockey, roller blading, things like that.
That'd be nice neighborhood things to do that aren't $2 million.
I think going down the order here.
I think that's a great idea.
All right, Adam. I kind of agree with Cliff on the top ones, is that the Discovery Center looks like we're kind of locked in that one, which is number one. I kind of can flip-flop the leopard exhibit and the outdoor rec area, plus the trail out there. Leopard exhibit's on track. We have the money, donations coming in. I think more donations can come in on there to hopefully meet that budget constraints there. I guess with the outdoor rec area, we've been talking about it. I think it's just, from my perspective, it's time to get moving on it, start just, get some groundwork out there. I look at the success of the Woodland Trail. That to me, once you get the trail, the parking out there, that can be just the same type of places in Woodland. After that, I kind of go down to some smaller. I look at the pool liner. I would like to get that one done because we put the slide in there. If we put the pool liner in there, we're basically got it done, right? We got that one done. So I'd like to finish projects that we can get done, and then that pool won't have to touch for a while. I also look at the pickleball project. I think since I've been on the board here for 2.5 years, we've been talking about that. I'd like to get that one done there. And then the tennis was up there, but I agree that we have to own the building before we want to put money in. But I think that would be high on my list also, if we did own that building on there. So those are kind of mine in that level. And as we move down, all the other ones coming into the softball complex, I'd like to really look at the feasibility of the field house, what we're looking at there, for future references. But my top ones would be those that I just listed there.
With the outdoor rec area, is there truth that eventually we have to start doing something, or we risk it could go away? There's truth.
By the agreement, we were supposed to have started something within 5 years. I think that 5 years is right now.
Yeah, it's up. So, so there's some added incentive maybe with that.
They've been giving us, I've got to send them a report again this year on progress. I talked to the gentleman a couple weeks ago, and he wants to put a note in the file, and just to show that we're making progress. We've been spending money on planning and all of that. We haven't touched a shovel to the ground yet, so we do need to do something out there.
I'll agree with number one, Magic City Discovery Center, because like I said, we've made that commitment. I think we have to follow through that. And my number 2 and 3 are the outdoor rec areas, and that basically is because we made a commitment that in 5 years we have to start doing something. We need to do it. We need to. I don't know that the state school trust fund will come and take it away from us, but we want to take that chance, and I don't think we should. And then the leopard exhibit after that was my top 4. I do question, I still would like us to be looking at the Ramstead property, working with the school. We need to meet, somehow somebody needs to meet with them, and we need to get an agreement with them to be able to look at doing something with that property. Every couple of weeks, someone does talk to me about that. What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? And I think we need to move forward on that.
We've talked about sitting down and talking to Dr. Bulmer. It just hasn't happened.
I don't believe we should talk to Dr. Balmer. I believe we need to talk board to board. I think we should get on their agenda and present it to them, because when we talk to Dr. Balmer, it doesn't really get to the board in the past. So I think it's time to, we ask the school board to be on their agenda. We talk to you, make it public, and because I know there are, you were at the meetings. There's 2 school board members there. There was a split. One yes, one no. But I just think we need to get a commitment from them. If they don't want to, that's, let the people in line know that, no, they don't want to do anything with that property. And then the Mesa land, where are we at? The mountain bike cross country and all that. Where are we at with EPA? That needs to be done too.
Is the EPA thing done yet? Finalized?
No, they made a little bit of progress this fall and now have lost communication again, so I mean, we're ready to go anytime that they give us the okay. We've got some funds and we can get some more, and we just need their approval, so we ask the city, we ask them again, just give us permission to do it. Whether the EPA says it's okay or not, they've been here twice since we've been working on this project to do site visits, and they, both times have asked questions about the project and really had minor concerns about how we were going to, move forward with it, but not once have they ever said this is a terrible idea, it'll never work. So, but it's, it's a big deal and it's not our property, so we need the city to at least tell us that they would support us in doing some trails out there.
Anyway, with the smaller projects, the pool liner, yeah, I think that's something that would be nice to get done. Commissioner Schmidt said, finish that project off. The golf course, I don't know that I support the idea of a drain field. We don't even want to put paved paths down that part of the golf course. Why would we want to put a drain field? When we're looking at the flooding, that's why we didn't do paths on that portion of the golf course. The vault that we have out at Woodland Trail, that's just what we need to do instead of doing a lot of infrastructure when we know that we could very well be abandoning that part of the course next flood. Field house and the outdoor, the fourth rink. Before we, the field house, we have to know what we're doing here. Those two go hand in hand. We can spend $11 million up there in this place or $11 million over in this place.
Commissioner Kisman.
Rookie. I pretty much agree with Mike. I mean, the only comment that I'd like to make is to see that the leopard complex probably at a higher level of priority. As far as the golf thing, I concur that one flood and if done. So I'm not sure that that'd be a good investment. That also being said, I don't golf. So my opinion is hinged, obviously, or it doesn't mean much on that. But the rest of them are all priorities and all things that we should be working on. I don't have anything else. I agree with the Northwest area being improved, keeping that going. So
I agree with kind of the general consensus, like, Children's Museum is certainly, I think, universally number one, that we're all saying, because our word is there. I agree, with Chuck talking about, where I was on the commission, task board gave the commitment on the 5-year plan for the land out west, which means something for sure. The zoo is right there. I like the idea, I live in Green Valley, I like the idea of not doing Green Valley, to perhaps try and, do the bathroom. I agree with you guys as well. I think the Woodland Trail edition of the bathroom that has had more time on social media than any other bathroom, and no, I'm kidding. But it's very nice. I think it would do a good job at service, and something certainly has to get done, because those are not so good to be in. I mean, I like them all. And I also know that money's cheap, like you said right now. I mean, kind of depending on how we would go about paying for these, whether it's working with the city, whether it's reserves, whether it's doing bonding of our own, I mean, it depends, I suppose, what's possible, but that's kind of where we turn to you, I think, a little bit. And, you said outright you had an opinion too, so
Absolutely.
I think you should give your opinion.
So I agree with the option one, and I would recommend that we would ask the city to do an assessment district for that project, and take on the project, and they can bond for it, and we can hold payments to them. We've done that on other projects in the past. It costs a little more than doing the bonding on our own, but when we're thinking about long range, some bigger projects, our debt limit, we want to make sure we keep a handle on and keep some room there, so that if we have to bond for a larger project, we have the capacity to do it. Doing an assessment district might cost a little more interest, but it doesn't come towards our debt limit. We don't have to use our general fund to make the payment, we use our assessment levy. So that project in South Road and infrastructure project, that's a typical project that you would use that assessment for. I did talk to Lance, and he talked to Dave, and we would have to petition the city council to do that for us, but they've always been willing to do that in the past. It's just been a while since we've done it. We've been doing our own lately, but that's a great way to do that project, and save our capacity for other projects. Outdoor rec area, I think we need to do something out there. The only reason, the main reason we haven't is because we haven't had success with our grant funding opportunities there with the Outdoor Heritage Fund. We've gone through basically two rounds of that grant application, and we have not been successful there. So, but in the meantime, between the 1 million for the roadway and the $500,000 for the trail, we've been building up our future development fund for that project, and we actually have the cash to just do the project. So we wouldn't have to bond for that one at all if we chose to go that route. The other option that would be option one for those two projects. If we want to get creative, option two would be the Children's Museum, the same way that I stated, and also throw the roadway and parking lot into the assessment district with the city. And then take the cash that we have and use it to pay for the trail work, and also then put some money towards the leopard exhibit. So that would be a cash outlay for both of those projects. And that would get us a little farther down the road, but then we're bonding for a quite a bit higher amount. The way I've kind of looked at the leopard exhibit, we probably have about 1.8 million to come up with, somewhere in that range. Maybe it's a little less. And I'm not sure what the capacity is right now for fundraising, but at some point, things are going to change. We are optimistic that things will change for the better. And we know we have a timeline on that project as well if we want to do it. So that would be another consideration for those. And the other projects, we've got Riverside, Green Valley, pool liner, and the restroom. That's another $500,000. And whether we want to borrow that, or maybe look at reserves, or look at other options for that, or push a couple of those down the road and throw them in together, we can come up with an option that would work to get at least those projects done. So, and the park projects, if we want to push off Green Valley, we could put that money towards Riverside, throw that one in there and do the nicer upgrade there, and then just do Green Valley the following year when we're working on our budget. Some of these other projects we could work into our budget process as well, we just won't be getting them done this coming year. So we have multiple options. It's kind of what we feel is our capacity to take on debt at this time. The rates are really good, but if we go too high, we're gonna have a significant levy increase because we still have to make the payment. So, and that would be out a year. We would be using our upcoming budget process to decide what our payment would be. We can have our bonding done, so we might be raising our special assessment levy up by a mil or a little higher. It's not huge, but it is an increase. So, and like I've said in the past, when we're working on our budget, we're going to spend some more time on that over the winter and into the spring. But our general fund, we need to look at taking up a little bit as well. So, we want to make sure that it's manageable. We don't want to have a huge increase all in 1 year. So, but that we can't sustain. We've gone on 5 years without really touching that, and we've had some growth that's helped us out. Right? I don't think we're going to see growth in the next year, so we need to keep all of that in mind. So I'm not sure if we want to, when we're borrowing, the option one would probably be a better way to go, and then we'll work with the levered exhibit. We need to try and do some more fundraising and talk to the Zoo Society and see what their capacity is to help us with fundraising, and we can split that and at least that amount that's left. That would make it easier for both of us. So. I don't know what this. I'm up for with the bathrooms at the golf course. I don't know either what the best thing to be is. I know someday down the road, the area that we're talking about putting the restrooms in is out of the floodplain, so those aren't going to get flooded. They're the one over by the maintenance shop. That's about the same level as the shop is right now. That didn't have any flood water in it during the flood, so that would be up out of the floodplain. The other site, on the other side, I'm not sure where that one sits. So.
Yeah, we did, we did look at, basically on a 6 tee box, going down with 5 fairways, 6 tee box. That area, there is a water spigot there, so if you did a woodland trail type bathroom, you could maybe even have a water station in it, but not have to, dig 4 water lines or things like that. And then it would be like 14, 15 tee box on the other side. So similar to where they are now, but out of the floodplain area. So
you could even do a bigger vault option, I would imagine, so that you didn't have to have a drain field. You could just pump it out. But you have a flush toilet, so you don't have the odor coming up into the facility.
If you put up the 6 tee box, it would only make sense to make the drain field there. Where they are at.
Yeah, no, we agree that we want to move them away from those.
That's what we're looking at. We haven't quite got into the drain field or any of that part yet.
So we've got good numbers on our large projects. I think the Children's Museum, the outdoor rec area, and the leopard exhibit, we've got really good numbers on those. And the other projects that are on our list, what we feel like the longer range projects, the field house and also the fourth grade, those are pretty good numbers. We're lacking on the auditorium. We haven't spent any time looking at that other than talking about it. So that's something that we would like to, put an A&E firm on board and to advertise to an RFP and get some help taking a look at this building, see what our future is with it. That doesn't mean we're going to start construction anytime soon, but we really need to look at all of those projects together to make sure that we're not duplicating or spending more money than we need to. So that's something that we could take on, winter, spring, to just get that process started for studying those projects. And then some of these, whatever you guys are willing to support, we can move ahead with. So if you need more information, let us know. We'll be happy to gather more information. board meeting next week. But we should at least, at some point, either this meeting or the next meeting, at least the top 2 or 3, we should decide what we want to do with those, because we're gonna have to start getting.
And how we want to do them, correct?
Right. So if you're not ready today, think about it, get you more information. Talk about it again next week.
The Children's Museum, I mean, what does everyone think of the special assessment working with the city?
I'd like to see if we're gonna do the children's museum, let's do the children's museum and the outdoor rec parking. Let's see if the city will combine those two into a special assessment district, because they're both roadway, parkways, parking lots. With the the thought that, Magic City Museum would definitely, but we could give them both, and I think that'd be really good. And then we can, for me, if we could look at a bunch of on the trails, the pool liner, the golf course, restrooms, and electric.
Well, we have some cash too in reserves, right? I mean, do we do the trails and the leopard, splitting the cash on hand, and talk to the zoo crew people about, the other part of that? And, then that kind of leaves the pool liner, the bathroom, Riverside, if we wanted to, to do on the bonding part for us. I like that personally, but that's just me. And it certainly is some spending. There's no doubt about that.
That cuts down the leopard exhibit down to about 1.1 million left to come up with, so if we could split those, and find a way we could put some cash towards that, so. We have about $500,000 left on the other projects, so we can look at our options with that.
I think you're on the right track. Mr. Emery's proposal, I guess it's quite a ways down. I think we should look at a few of these small ones and see what we might be able to afford and pick away at those at the same time. Some of these are just imperative to get done. The outdoor rec one is, whatever we do there, we can do whatever and make progress, and if this is the best bet, fine.
The imperative ones are the spendy ones too.
Yes, they're the
which
biggest.
makes it a little uncomfortable, but that's just the reality of it, obviously.
I think, what both of you guys summed up is right down the line, and I think Commissioner Emery made a comment 3 or 4 or 5 board meetings ago. We haven't had a increase in how many years, and to get the projects done and to get things up to where we want them, we're going to have to make there's going to be a minor increase in levy, but I think we have to get these projects done. Nobody likes to hear that, but that's the way, I think that's the nature of the beast. Going back to also what Commissioner Emery said, I would like to add in here, since we have the money for it, is the Mesa land. I would sit there and say, okay, let's go to the city and say, we're ready to go this spring. Enough is enough. And say, if EPA isn't there, move on. But we have to prove in the city, I understand that. But I would really like to work towards that, because that's a project that's ready to go, that we have paid for. And I'd like to add that into this grouping too, if we get the ball rolling, and just kind of put the pressure on the city and say, let's go, let's move on, this is the project. But I think that's both comments from Commissioner Emery and President Olson, perfect on the funding.
I thought you were going to say something there, Commissioner Kitzman.
No, I'm listening. I'm garnering all this stuff. I think we've established priorities. There's no question about that. Common sense, assessing the taxes and so on, yada, yada. I think the priorities are right. You do as much as you can. You can't do it all at once. As I was thinking about up by the Children's Museum, the facility where the lines and stuff in there, that's also going to be a park, children's park at some point. So that'll come into play as that will be done, that portion. A lot more experience in this, at the end of this table, I can tell you that.
So what type of direction do you want from it? Do you want us to make a decision here or?
We're gonna go out the range that we borrowed last year. We do this, so if we follow that guidance, then we'd be borrowing about the same amount, so. And the rates should be good, unless something changes, we start working on this. Start moving ahead with the Children's Museum, they have the plan set is almost basically done, so. And they're about ready, they're gonna bid out as well, the whole project this year, so we can coincide ours with that. And I guess the one thing we commit to the direction here, but these are our best estimates on these projects. You don't have an actual number until you have a bid in front of you, so you still have until then to, make your final decision on these. We'll move towards bonding, like we did the last time we had bids open, and then we had them hold them for at least 30 days and maybe longer if we need to, so we can get our bond, sale done at the same time, so we know that we don't have to bond for more than that. We'll have a bid price for the bigger projects that we can bond for.
So if
So it's a timing thing for everything.
So if the takeaway from this meeting for staff is special assessment with the city for Children's Museum and the outdoor rec, the parking part of it, maybe cash reserves for the trails part, possibly the zoo, and then whatever else happens on those smaller projects, that would be separate bonding, and we can make those decisions when there's harder numbers there, but is that kind of the general consensus that we think? And that's good info for you guys to take away from this meeting, knowing that there's support there for that?
You guys support us starting to think about A&E for the study of the bigger projects in the future. And I'm asking that now because we decided that in the spring not to move forward with that, but I think everybody feels like maybe we should, so. And that we don't have to, right now, but we can put an RFP together and see what we get for proposals, and then we can decide to move forward. We can advertise over this time of the year, maybe January or February, we could have somebody on board.
With what we're planning to do, let's say the softball individuals came to us in January, February and said, we have, what if you gave them the option that you mentioned earlier, that we might match a third of them. There's $385,000. You raise $300,000, we might match $300,000. Now, what if they come to us in January, February and say, we have it, do we have that money in it to do that then? Or would we, are they close to having it? Or, I don't know. I'm just saying, is there, because they would like to get that started in the spring if it's possible, but do we have leeway there if that works?
I'll try to have a meeting with them prior to Tuesday's board meeting, if I can round them up. So I haven't talked to them since we had our meeting for Thanksgiving and all that, so.
So if that was the case, if they came with that, so there is money sitting there from the facilities fund. If they came with that, that could be like something we'd have to consider on the small bonding.
That's what I'm trying.
It's not small.
But that's what I'm trying to say, how do we work that in if they want to start in the spring, if we're willing to do that.
Yeah.
Is that option available? That's the question.
That's an option.
Commissioner Schmidt, that would be a fall project.
Oh,
This is
now
why
you're-
I mean, you would, well, there's no softball, but planning for it.
I never thought,
So,
yeah.
I mean, it would be a fall project,
Okay, so it's not that in-depth, we'll get that, okay, got it.
but we still have to have the timeline there.
I thought we were already gonna have the season.
Okay. Got one more large project that's probably, I don't know, we don't know if it's 5 years out or when the timing will be. It doesn't have to be on our list right now, but we talked about replacing, building a new softball complex sometime in the future on the outside edge of town. And we actually might have found a piece of land we're gonna look at that might work for it. So we don't know yet. We're gonna go look at it, but the price would be right. Say that much, so. And that can just sit there until it's ready for it. It takes a while to plan a project like that. 30 or 40 acre parcel, just you have to find the land. So we've been just lucky enough to maybe come across one, so.
Okay. So we all feel good about where we are here then with this, moving forward to next week, and you as well?
Good.
Okay. Anything else?
I have one personal note I'd like to make. I'm probably the oldest one in the room, I suspect. Probably have my share of underlying conditions. But I just want you to know that my wife has had 2 transplants. If I bring COVID home, she will not survive. And so I just want to thank people that are wearing masks. You reduced my odds of doing that by about 40% today. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
No, they're still, no, they're pressing areas. Chips are in art.
Non-red.
What they're trying to tackle. That event is actually. Direct that, you was talking about.